Ready?
What's up, everyone? First regular scheduled episode of the Stephie Smalls show. Had to be joined with my guy, Spencer Aguiar, to talk some 3M Open. Spence, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Stephie. I really like that intro that you guys have put together. It looks very nice.
I got to see it right before the show started, and I can't lie. I was extremely excited to see it. How'd last weekend go for you?
It went well. I ended up being slightly profitable. We talked a little bit, unfortunately, that neither one of us were able to get on Brian Harman after touting him for what feels like the entire season with it. The Jason Day top 10 wager that I had, that obviously helped quite a bit. I had a couple bets that lost by the slimmest of margins. I had Corey Connors to come inside the top 51. He came in 52nd. That ended up being over a unit swing for me. But, you know, profit's profit. That's always a good thing. And we're just trying to build the bankroll every single week.
And we will try to do that again here at this, what they like to say, birdies and train wreck type course. Everyone's probably heard that a million times. We won't go over a course preview. We're just going to get right into our smash or passes. And I will let you start this off. Why don't you give me your first one off the top?
So my first smash or pass for you, I want to talk about Keith Mitchell this week. There's a lot that's been going on with him. Smash or pass on Keith Mitchell?
I feel like people are not going to love this answer from me, but I am actually going to pass on Keith Mitchell this week. Where are you at?
I really like Mitchell. I think he's one of the better players on the board for a couple reasons. And, you know, if we look at the recent form, obviously that's not going to look great, but he's gained a whopping 6.74 shots ball striking over the 2 rounds that he put together in Scotland. That was a total that would have projected him as a top 5 option on the leaderboard when I added in his baseline short game statistics over his actual performance. Unfortunately for him, the short game went south. He lost 6.83 shots with that facet of his game. You know, we can talk about the inflation that's going to take place here in total driving. There's 15 holes that will have water that comes into play. You get this deflation in around the green returns. I think that makes Mitchell a really natural boost candidate that can work his way up the leaderboard. Number 1 in my model in total driving. He's number 1 on the tour in total driving also, but specifically for this venue, he's number 1. He experienced an 18 position improvement in projection here versus a random course on tour when I used his weighted proximity. I think there's more upside to be had. I think we're talking specifically DFS and in GPP sort of contests. Nobody's going to play him, as you said. We've seen the same situation come into play in the outright market where he has drifted from 40-1 to these 55-1 numbers out there. I grabbed him at 40-1 early in the week. Didn't get the best of the number there, but I'm going to go back to the well because I think there's a lot of upside to be found on him.
Yeah, and I think that I will agree with you. I would be okay with playing him in DFS. It's funny because if you were to look at my notes, I very much am advocating for him, but then I have a fat no next to his name, which is pretty standard for me. I think he was probably like top 40 in my model, just didn't rate out that well. I do get it. His short game has never been awesome, but I think that this course fit is quite nice for him. So I can get behind it. We're not going to agree on everything. That's all right. I'll give you a name. Let's see. I'll give you a name that we've talked about in the past a lot. You know, this was one of my just right off the bat clicks. Not a guy that's playing well. We haven't really heard much of him since the beginning of the season. Where are you at here? Smash or pass Tom Hoge. Where are we going with him?
I think Hoagie's an intriguing candidate to consider this week in various iterations of the market. So, I mean, I guess I'll give the outright answer to it, and you can talk to me about what markets you like him for, and I'll talk a little bit about DFS also. But he's one of those players that has positive upside when I ran this tournament for pure win equity with it. Obviously, the safety features are going to be a little bit more obscure on what I'm looking for. Like, there's been a lot of missed cuts from him recently. He missed the cut last week. He missed the cut at the Rocket Mortgage. He missed the cut at the US Open.
Spence,
no. The tournament still, like, the point that I'm trying to make there is those are much more challenging courses than we get here. All of a sudden now we move this back into the mix to where the ball striking that he has, the weighted proximity totals, all of that we're looking for. That's where this upside comes into play. And I don't think we're going to have a ton of people wanting to go to him. I see him right now at about 6% ownership at his $7,500 price tag.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily be playing him for the safer contests out there. I don't think he's naturally the greatest head-to-head wager or a top 40 bet. But if you want to push him up the board a little bit into like a top 10, a top 20, a bet to win this tournament, I think there's a lot worse ways that you could invest your money than taking a shot with somebody who is, no matter what field you put him in, one of the best iron players. And now where there's this benefit where you get this 4.4% dispersion of scoring increase when it does come to strokes gain approach, plus the accuracy that he's going to bring to the table. Like there's a lot to like about him.
Yeah, I think I would not recommend to others to take him as this long shot, 90 to 1, 70 to 1. I'm not sure where the odds have moved on him, but I think that plus 750 for a top 10 with a guy that always has, like we've said this before, like he could win at almost any tournament once within reason. He has good course history here. He's made 3 of 4 cuts, 2 top 20s. He rates out well stat wise. And you see this where he played very well in the beginning of the season. Then you have a sporadic top 20 and it hasn't looked pretty recently, but maybe pressure's down. And if he can play like the Tom Hoagie when he does, end up finishing well, I'm kind of in on him for a top 10 plus 750. I like that number there.
Yeah, I think that's a good number grab. That's kind of the best way, in my opinion, to try to get exposure to him is just shoot for the moon. And maybe you're right. You don't need to shoot for like the ultimate win equity for him to win this tournament. And that number has drifted ever so slightly. I mean, obviously you can shop around and find different prices. For the most part, like when I took the aggregated totals, he was 66 to 1. He's now 75 to 1 in the market. I didn't get there either for an outright, but I do think a top 10 is probably the best way to consider him.
All right. What do you got for the next one?
I mean, how gross do you want to get on these names this week, Stephie?
We can get gross. It's a Wednesday at 3 p.m. We can do whatever we want here.
All right. Let's go with somebody that's going to be very gross down on the bottom of the leaderboard. Kevin Roy.
Okay.
I guess I will give you an option on him of where I am putting him, and then you can kind of answer it from there of what you think. But Kevin Roy 4-1 on a top 40.
Okay, so ironically, he is also on my Smash or Pass list. I actually very much like him. He rated out very well for me. His ball striking, I think, is going to bid him very well here. So I am actually very much in on Kevin Roy, not a name. That was kind of where I left it. That was one of the gross names I wasn't necessarily going to bring up, but you brought it up, so we can go there. Why do you like Kevin Roy this week?
Yeah, kind of for the ball striking reasons that you mentioned. There's that reduction I keep talking about in strokes gained around the green. Like essentially, if you miss, there's a lot of weeks where you can scramble and you can scramble your way out of problems. These are really big green complexes that will reward some of the better ball strikers. But the problem is when you miss, you're in the bottom of the lake. You can't scramble your way out of the bottom of the lake. So all of a sudden, these concerns that Kevin Roy and a Gary Woodland or any of these players that you want to talk about that may have these suspect short games that don't always perform the way that you want, all of a sudden you throw them at on this venue where they're going to have the total driving ability that you're looking for. The weighted proximity, like Roy for me is 17th in expected scoring on this course. He's also 17th in ball striking. For a guy who's 4-1 to land in the top 40, you're obviously going to have some concerns that come into play just with how volatile he is. But water courses possess volatility anyways for every single golfer. And I'd rather find the name that's not being adequately priced because we just view Kevin Roy of what Kevin Roy has been or what Kevin Roy is and not necessarily what Kevin Roy can be on this specific golf course. So thought 4-1 was a really intriguing price for him. And that's kind of how I decided to make my wagers this week in the placement market. Everybody I took because of that water volatility, they're all 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 type of shots. I don't need to hit everybody, but if one or two starts coming in, all of a sudden we're talking about a big week there.
Right. And I think with a majority of these golfers, you're going to get this conversation. It's not the strongest field, right? There's going to be a conversation about this, even with the guys that are considered the top of this, top of the field. So I'm going to go to someone that I actually don't know that we've ever touched on him before, but where are you at? I'll give you the number too. How about Doug Gim, top 30 plus 175?
My model really likes Gim.
Me too.
I have been burned by Gim so many times that I almost
but
have like this. It's so hard for me to jump back into the mix with him. I think he makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, two top
mhm.
20s at this venue over the 3 years that he's played it. Let's take away his last tournament where he missed the cut. 26th at the John Deere, 15th at the Travelers, 12th at the RBC Canadian Open. It's kind of that prototypical ball striker that we're trying to find for this course where
Right.
he fits all the metrics that you're looking for. I think that a top 30 is probably, or maybe even a top 20 would be like my preferred way to play it, just because you move it up a
Right.
little bit from that top 40 zone. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say smash on it. I don't have a
Okay.
problem with him. I just know that Gim is highly volatile, and it's, it is what it is with it. I do think though,
Everyone's volatile, so
but I will say this: I think he's better for this sort of a wager than probably for DFS, just because he's going to be so popular.
yeah, I agree with that. I think so too. I know a lot of people are not putting too much emphasis on putting. Everyone's kind of split down the middle with how they feel with that. He's gained strokes putting in 7 of his last 10 starts. He ranks out just really well across the board as far as strokes gained, you name it. He's been playing fine. He's playing good golf. He's
Playing
playing
good
like
golf.
Doug Gim. Yeah, he's playing like true Doug Gim. So I'm in on him. I like that top 30. I actually would be interested to see what that top 20 number looks like, because I'm kind of with you. I think that that's probably the better way to play him, get a little bit more on that. I don't know that I will be in on him for DFS, but
Yeah, that's my mentality kind of with this week, is just trying to either, like, obviously a Kevin Roy is different because if you're getting 4 to
mhm,
1 on a top 40, like you already have that baked in number that's coming to play. Like, I'm trying to push players further up the board
right.
for all the reasons that I've talked about and kind of just get these larger prices. But yeah, I think a top 20 on Doug Gim is certainly intriguing.
Fair. All right. Who you got next here?
All right, so I am going to, sometimes I like to switch up who I'm playing and who I'm not playing,
Okay.
which gives it away, but
Okay.
smash or pass on Sahith the Gala.
I feel like, I mean, everyone kind of at this point that's watched, how I feel about him is I think when he wins, it's going to be a much bigger tournament than we have this weekend. He has not been playing well. I worry about the water here with him. It would be surprising to me if he came in and had a fantastic week. So I actually would love to look at what some matchups are for him this week. That's probably where I would play it. If he does well, awesome. I love him, but not exactly where I see him succeeding.
Yeah, I that was the first thing I looked for this week. There were two golfers that I wanted to try to find if there were ways I could take them on in a head-to-head matchup. The first would be Thigala. The second would have been Matt Kuchar. Those are two players that I think have a lot of
Mhm.
name recognition coming into this tournament that maybe don't have the results that look the way they should. And I know with Kuchar, for example, he's made 3 of his last 5 cuts. You really dive into some of the ball striking numbers of his, they have gone south, and they've gone south in a big way. And I think water causes a problem. Sahith has the same exact answer that I could talk to about with this. The one difference is back-to-back missed cuts. I think people are aware of where the
Yeah.
form has moved with him. You've seen that in a lot of these markets to where he's a massive underdog, and it was tough to find a price that made sense of somebody
Right.
to take against him with. But I grabbed Nikolai Højgaard at minus 110. That was,
Okay.
Højgaard kind of has that same troubling off the tee presence to where the water could be a problem with him. But the way I see Thigala's game right now when comparing the two, it's like Thigala's lost with his driver in 7 of his last 8 starts. The putter is something that always usually holds it together for him. I had this massive negative downturn inside my model when I ran it on fast bent grass greens over your standard complex that he would get weekly. Like, he went from 14th overall in my model on any course with the putter
Yeah.
to outside the top 100 when specifically looking for this sort of a green texture here. I think if the putter struggles, he might miss his 3rd straight weekend in a row. And Højgaard just had enough ball striking acumen. Like, yeah, the inaccuracy off the tee was a problem, but the weighted proximity looked good. I really like the distance that he added to the mix. Like, he has better distance than Thigala does, even though like they're both going to be inaccurate there. And kind of my mentality with this tournament is when you're looking for cut makers, you want to try to
Mhm.
find accuracy. So obviously for a head-to-head wager, 2 inaccurate golfers would be a dangerous game to play here. But I think for the upside numbers of it, you do want distance if you actually want to win this contest. So I know that's like a reverse answer to give for a head-to-head here, but I just think the Gala has so many problems, and Højgaard was kind of the one name that didn't get pushed up the board, that it made sense at the number that I could grab him at -110. So I am also going to pass on Theegala for that reason.
Okay, and I'll bring up a name next that, well, there's two that I see on everyone's card that I did not expect. I thought I was doing something a little bit original. I guess not exactly with Eric Cole, but let's go Eric Cole, smash or pass. There's two ways that I like this. I did bet him outright. I do like that versus Spawn +100 if you did happen to see that. Where are you at with Eric Cole? I've been betting him all season long, so I wasn't going to stop now. Where are you at, though?
Really like Eric Cole as a player. I don't know if I love him for this tournament.
Yeah.
I am out for this event. He's going to be very popular on DFS. Like, I think he's going to probably approach 15+%, but even in the betting market, I couldn't necessarily find a way that I wanted to attack him, and I didn't think there was value in the numbers. Total driving in my model, 124th in this field.
Yeah.
The GIR plus weighted proximity was 61st. More of that had to do with the GIR percentage for this venue than some of the weighted proximity numbers. You know, he kind of is one of those players to me that follows that Matt Kuchar sort of a sense, to where he does a lot of work with his short game, the scrambling, the sand saves, the 3-putt percentage, the bogey avoidance. Sure, the bogey avoidance answer can help here, but you're also, like I said, when you miss, you're missing into a way that you can't salvage the score. Like, you can prevent it from becoming a triple bogey, but you're going to be making bogey or double bogey if you find the water in a lot of these situations. So I am out on Eric Cole this week. I will be very quickly back in, I'm sure, at the right venue. I'm just not so sure that some water venue with 15 holes that are going to be surrounded is exactly where I think the best fit for him would be.
Yeah, but imagine if he does stay accurate, how awesome that would be. Yeah, I'm definitely worried a little bit about the accuracy and just the setting of the water hazards. I think that, you know, we've seen some correlations between that Mexico Open leaderboard, and he did fare well there this year. You mentioned it, the bogey avoidance. I think that's where a lot of people are, you know, have their eyes on him for. I'm still going to ride it. That's all right. Maybe I'll be out for a little bit after this one. I'm hoping that we don't get a tournament like last weekend where it just completely goes directly towards one person. Not that I'm not excited for BK and all the guys that did have Harmon, but who you got next for me?
So let me go with a popular player this week for us to talk about. Aaron Rice, smash or pass?
It's interesting because he actually rated out as number 2 in my model, but I did not bet him. So this is going to be one of those weeks where I regret that. I am going to pass on him this week, which I probably regret. If you're watching this, I'm telling you right now, obviously rated out very well in my model, but where are you at?
I think he's a tough person for kind of the reason that you just talked about right now. I'm going to say smash because I do have an outright wager on him, but I also found it difficult of where I wanted to get my exposure on him.
Right.
He's very popular for DFS sites, and I have not made a decision if I want to overly use him there for that reason. I am leaning towards yes, just because there's so many metrics in my model that really liked him. Like, he's been historically great on TPC tracks.
Right.
The weighted scoring in my model is really good. The ball striking, the weighted tee to green numbers that I'm putting together. Like, those are all the things that I'm looking for, trying to find upside here. I do think he has a very high ceiling. I think he has a relatively safe floor. To me, he's one of those options that you can consider for a matchup just as quickly as you can consider him for an outright. And that's kind of probably why I'm not going to remove him from my player pool, but very popular. One of the most popular bets in the space, one of the most popular DFS players. But I think he's a very intriguing option that this might be one of those spots where, like, not all chalk is bad. I think the public has gotten it right with Rye this week.
I think that I think when we get off of here, I will probably bet him first round leader. I don't hate the top 20. You do? Okay. I do like him first round leader. I don't hate that +210 for a top 20. I'm just not, I don't know what it is that's preventing me from saying absolutely smash. And I think it's just I'm hesitant of how I want to play him. But let me give you another one. Which way do we want to go with this? Why don't we go? I'm trying to give you one that. Okay, how about Cam Davis smash or pass?
I don't have any action currently on Cam Davis, but I've made this argument before, and I may have even said it on the show with you in the past. These club down spots where there's trouble that's lurking, I really like those situations for Cam Davis. We know he has the prerequisite of distance that you want. For some reason, when you tell him, like, don't hit the driver and club down in these spots, he actually gets more upside in these situations. I am in on him. I am going to be using him for DFS. That's the only exposure that I have on him currently right now, but I have nothing bad to say about Davis. He's obviously a boom or bust sort of option. Right. I think you can find players near him on the board that make a lot of sense also, but I like him this week. And I don't mind anybody who, if they do want to put an outright on him, like, I think it certainly makes sense.
It feels like tradition to be able to bring up someone that I can say that, for lack of a better term, his putter sucks ass. And he quite literally is a definition of that. He has a solid course history there here, shot a 64, I believe, on Sunday last year. So I think I'm in on him. I haven't placed any actual money on him yet, on none of my own, but I will find a way to get some exposure to him before tomorrow. Why don't you give me one more before I get you out of here?
Perfect. So let's do, I like this player a lot this weekend, and I think he's a fun name to talk about. Smash or pass on Ryan Fox?
Interesting that you brought him up. My model does very much like him. He did burn me last week, so I am very nervous to go back to him. So you are going to have to probably convince me on this one, to be honest.
So what I like about him is I believe he is a legitimate top 40 player in the world that doesn't get treated that way. And now we're all of a sudden talking about a tournament where, we don't have the 40 best players here. So we're looking at a spot with Fox where when you put him on a difficult hole, he's producing inside my model. When you throw him with the distance that he has, he's producing inside of my model. 12 of his last 14 completed worldwide starts have landed inside the top 48 total. That's something that most people don't realize, just because a lot of that work has been done on the European Tour. He was the only golfer in my model that was outside of 40-1 that ranked inside the top 15 when looking at recalculated scoring for par 5 and par 4 recalculations here. I thought at those numbers of 60-1, 66-1, he was one of the better values in the space. And it kind of goes back to the initial answer that I gave earlier in the show, that if we're talking about pure win equity and wanting to capture the title here, I think that's where distance comes into play. It's that Cameron Champ, Matthew Wolff, Tony Finau. These are names that have won here before that have added distance to the mix to actually capture the title. Ryan Fox brings that exact same skill set as a golfer that is higher priced than any of those other names that I found that were popping in my model this week. So I really like Fox's ability to potentially win this contest. And this might be the American coming out party for him in a situation where it kind of fits his game perfectly.
Gosh, I love him. I had him top 30, top 40 last week, whatever it was. I don't know that I can get more than a top 20 to be convinced that direction. Did you bet him outright?
I did. I took him at 66-1.
Right.
I also have him in a placement market to come 48th or better.
Okay, fair. All right. Who's winning this? And then I'll let you get out of here.
I mean, Stephie, I think I give the same answer every week, no matter who's in the tournament. I'm going to say Cameron Young wins this event.
Oh my God.
I've been down this road one too many times with you. I'm the boy who cried wolf in this situation, but he had that mid-season form where he developed his illness. Everything went south for him. He seems to be behind that now with back-to-back top 10 finishes. The ball striking inside my model just propels him to the top. You lose some of the around the green problems. He is going to have to make putts, but on these quicker, fast bent grass surfaces, he is a golfer who's found a lot of success historically in those setups. So, this is as good of a spot as any for Cam Young to win. I also think it's a nice spot for Sung Jae, just as a name I have not mentioned yet. He's another player that kind of hit a hiatus early in the middle of the season and now seems to be firing again on all cylinders. But who do you have, Stephie?
Listen here. I don't know. Listen, I like Sam Bennett. I don't care. He rated out well. It was the first click I made. I'll ride with it. No, I like Sanjay as well this week. Probably will be my last time for a little bit that I bet him. Sepp Straka wouldn't be shocking to me either. But we'll see what happens. Thanks so much, Spence, for coming on. I'll get you out of here. Switch over to football, and I'll talk to you on this weekend.
Thank you, Stephie. Appreciate everything as always.
See ya. And now, Mr. Brad Thomas to switch over to some football. That's all we're seeing on Twitter right now. Training camp is back. What's going on, my guy?
You know, another day, another dollar. Thank you so much for having me on. Listen, I was excited to hear you guys talk a little golf. For the first time in what feels like forever, I got good prices on guys before the numbers got steamed. So I hope I get a winner too.
Yeah, I hope so. Who do you have? I think you like Sepp this week, don't you?
I like Sepp a lot. Okay. I was going to bet Sepp regardless of what happened in the Open. And so like right when the price opened at 35-1, I like hammered it. I was like, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I have just, I love him for some reason. I used to bet him all the time last year. I stopped for a little bit, but it wouldn't shock me. But let's switch to football. It's been too long. I'm so excited to talk football. I cannot wait. Andrew Thomas got the bag today. I'm pumped. Excited for the Giants. Let's talk some NFL futures. Let's talk about some win totals. What are you looking at that you like right now?
My favorite win total, and this number has been absolutely abused. Listen, I took this number at 7.5. I took it at 6.5 as well. Raiders under 6.5 wins. It's minus 140 now. Listen, I don't see a world where they get to 7 wins. So I don't mind the difference of minus 105 to now minus 140. A lot of people, and even when the books were coming out with this number and people were betting it, they were thinking that this was a team that had some potential injury issues, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, at the time the line was announced, hadn't passed his physical yet. He passed his physical 2 days ago. I don't care. It's not about the offense for me. It is about that terrible, terrible defense. They had a 62.2 PFF defensive grade last season. And they're in just such a tough division already where if they don't make improvements defensively, they're not going to have the same offense last year that's going to be able to kind of win them those games or steal those games. I have them probably closer to about 4.5 is what I would set the total at, which means I absolutely smashed. Like I smashed under 7.5 when it opened.
And who knows what type of drama they're going to get out of Josh Jacobs too. We know Josh Jacobs, love him dearly, one of my favorite guys, but
Roll Tide.
He's responded a little bit immaturely to some things in the past, not quite there. I wouldn't be shocked if he does hold out for quite some time. I'm with you on that one. I'll run one by you. I have two that I really like. I talked about this one on Lines at Lunch yesterday, but I love this number. This is a number that actually moved. It opened at plus 110. So I'm looking at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like the under 6.5. It's at minus 135. Are you a Tampa Bay fan? I was nervous.
I am a Bucs fan. But listen, I bet with my wallet, not my heart. Right. I say my wallet has no loyalty. So you're not going to make me upset.
All right. I promise there's a positive ending to this, though. Like I will make it. It's going to hurt at first, and then we can talk about the ending here. Okay, here's the thing. This alleged QB battle, I don't think it's a QB battle. It's going to be Baker. I think we all know that. You know better than anyone as a fan. Their O-line is going to look very different. Lost some, significant talent, I would say. They lost Donovan Smith to Kansas City. Lost Shaq Mason to Houston, I believe. And, they're moving Tristan over, which I actually love. I think he's going to thrive there. But the quarterback qualms are not going to be exactly great. If that O-line, they're going to get totally exacerbated by maybe the O-line struggling a tiny bit. And we've seen Baker play under pressure, which I don't love. I think that Baker has been handed a little bit of the short stick in the NFL. And I think the argument is you look at this team on paper, it's actually good, right? Yeah. Until you look at the depth chart. So if we sprinkle in a couple injuries, not looking pretty, the schedule's a little bit tougher than I think people realize. I think if I'm Tampa, neither of these guys are a Band-Aid. You get to half it through the season, trade deadline, whatever it is. go try to figure out your actual solution for quarterback. So I do like the under here, even though I had a feeling when I was going to bring this up, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't talk about Tampa. So
No.
I think that outlook is positive. I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, no, listen. I saw somewhere on Twitter where one of the bigger ESPN or NBC said, what happens if Baker throws for like, I think it was like 3,500 yards. And I said, then that means the Bucs win 7 games. Like 7 games is like the ceiling for this team. Yeah. And I'm saying this not because I think that missing Tom Brady is going to be, I'm like mad because Tom Brady's gone now.
Right.
But the offense wasn't already good with Tom Brady last season, but he had that veteran leadership, that winning caliber, that pedigree, that the Bucs won more games than they should have. With Baker Mayfield at the helm, what basically the Bucs organization is hoping is he goes to that Heisman caliber ceiling that he had coming into the league, and I don't know if it's there. They have all the talent in the world offensively also, and I just don't think the philosophy will be there either. And a lot of that comes down from Todd Bowles. Like if you notice, when Todd Bowles took over as head coach, there were a lot less risks taken because Todd Bowles, what he wants to do is he wants to win games defensively. And I don't know if you saw, I tweeted this like 10 million times last year, where I was sick of the Bucs running screen pass after screen pass. I was listening to Todd Bowles, I think this was like 3 weeks ago, and he dropped in the line, says, we're going to run more screen passes or something along those lines. And I was like, when I pulled the numbers, they were like 3rd most screen passes ran last season. I was just like, please, like that is not an effective way to win. Maybe if you're like mixing them in. No, it's just like bubble screen. Like, what are we doing? Like bubble screens don't work unless you have like an elite wide receiver and a big guy who's taking a big wide receiver who's taking out one of those corners. Like it's just. Yeah, I don't have high hopes for the Bucs. I kind of hope they only win like 3 games.
Yeah, that's insane.
Caleb Williams, and I'm chilling for like the next few years.
Yeah, I see a little bit of like turmoil potentially occurring with like it's a vet heavy team. So then you bring in Baker, and if Baker doesn't work, then you got to go to Trask. I don't know. Things might get a little weird there at some point. Before I ask you what player prop you are liking this season, I will move away from the Bucs because I want to get your opinion on this team. I know this is one that the chat is going to absolutely hate, but I don't exactly care because it's my show. Where are you at with the Steelers over 8.5? I think people are overthinking this one a little bit because I like the over.
Listen, the Steelers. So every part of me wants to get some action on the Steelers in some kind of way, right? Like, do I take Kenny Pickett over yards? No, you don't take over yards for a quarterback. Do I take George Pickens over touchdowns? I don't know if he's going to make that next step with Kenny Pickett, but everything points to a better season from the Steelers. Like you've heard it already. What they're saying about Kenny Pickett, bigger, stronger, faster this offseason. That connection with George Pickens will be good. Deontay Johnson possibly can't get worse in terms of red zone production. Yeah. And then listen, a healthy TJ Watt, bingo, that's great. Yeah. And then you have Joey Porter Jr., who's coming in to solidify one side of the secondary. Every time you bring in a quality corner, and I do think Joey Porter Jr. is exactly that, it makes the pressure on the quarterback or the guys who are pressuring the quarterback a little bit stronger. So I'm not in love with the over 8.5.
I love it.
But if you say you're betting it, I'm not going to sit here and talk you off it. I'm not even going to be like, that's a gross bet. I'm going to be like, I want some part of the Steelers action. Just haven't figured out how I'm going to get there yet.
Yeah, it depends where you're looking. I know that this opened at like minus 120. It's obviously moved very much. I actually saw this morning that it's moved to 9 wins some places, which is interesting. And, normally, and people will hear this as this show continues, is I love trends come to an end. Like a huge proponent of that. I'm like the first one to be like, I don't care if he's been doing it for 5 games. It's ending tonight. Not with Tomlin. Like that's just not, I'm not betting against Tomlin here. They quietly won 9 games last year. No one, you ask the general public, they probably don't even realize that.
Yep.
Their schedule is actually kind of a joke. It's the 8th easiest. I'd argue a little bit easier than that, surprisingly. And you're seeing it in fantasy too. Everyone loves they love Pickens, they love Freiermuth, they love Najee, but no one has any love for Kenny Pickett. Someone's got to throw them the ball. Matt Canada didn't exactly stop them last year from 9. They upgraded the O-line. I'm in on them getting at least 9. It wouldn't surprise me if they got 10. Steelers just always find a way to win and be a little bit over average, even when they're not.
Yeah, it's just a good team. It's a well-coached team.
Yeah.
You should put a little bit on. I think Mike Tomlin's sitting around 30-1 to win Coach of the Year.
Okay.
Because you have to think there's going to probably be some regression from the Bengals. I'm not sold on the Ravens, what they're doing yet. And will Lamar stay healthy for an entire season? So if Mike Tomlin can go out there and put together, and turn Kenny Pickett into this Ben Roethlisberger type franchise quarterback, and they win a ton of games, he could get the nod because he's one of those guys. We talked about this on one of the shows I was on, is like the legacy award thing, where sometimes Coach of the Year goes to the guys who have just been doing it for so long at such a high level that all it takes is one little jump on the chart where they get back to where they were. And it's kind of a little bit worth the money.
Yeah, I actually like that quite a bit. Might jump off here and smash that immediately. What player prop are you looking at so far?
Yeah. Listen, I was going to come here and I was going to tell everyone to bet Garrett Wilson over 1,100 yards, but I'm not going to do it because I actually think a better bet for that would be Garrett Wilson, Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
But let me talk about my favorite player prop that I can give out today where the line hasn't been absolutely abused and moved. It's Quentin Johnston over 575.
I love it.
Receiving yards.
I love it.
For anyone who follows me, they know how many times we bet Quentin Johnston over or under at TCU. The dude's absolutely a stud. So let's talk about his makeup and the kind of wide receiver he is already. 6'3", 208 pounds, runs a 4.4, 440, has a big catch radius. Now he's going to a team that is going to try to elevate their passing game. Last year, they only averaged close to 25 points per game.
Yeah.
They bring in Kellen Moore. And when Kellen Moore was calling the plays for the Dallas Cowboys, I think they threw for 3,900 yards last year. And when I was reading one of his press clippings from last week, we were talking about what expectations do you have when you go to LA? What are you going to do? What's your main goal? And he says he wants to change the philosophy of the team, of the offense, and wants them to produce more offensively. And how is he going to do that? The guy who just got the bag, Justin Herbert, he is going to elevate his game.
Yeah.
So I was like looking at numbers too, right? Like I was looking around. I was like, what did the supporting cast do last year for the Chargers? Josh Palmer, he caught 769 yards. DeAndre Carter, who's no longer with the team, 538. These are guys who, no offense to them, don't have the ceiling, nor do they have the makeup of a Quentin Johnston. Now you mix in two guys, the number one receiving option, and then the slot receiver, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. You mix in those guys with how many injuries they have, how much time they miss off the field. It just boosts the ceiling for Quentin Johnston. I played this on DraftKings. I want to be very transparent. I played it where they have to at least play one snap this season. Okay. So if he gets hurt in training camp and doesn't play the season, I won't lose the money. It'll just void. But I mean, I love this. I love this line. I want every part of him in best ball because I think he's a great best ball player. Just because the fact that he's going to be going a lot lower than he should, and his ceiling's a lot higher than most people believe.
Yeah, Feinberg, big name in the golf space. One of my favorite people in the golf space ever, is a huge Chargers fan. And I tweeted out probably a couple of weeks ago that I am taking Quentin over Jordan Addison. Didn't know it was a bold take. Apparently a bold take. But he responded to it that it's funny that people are so low on him, even though all they want to do is complain about Keenan getting hurt and the wide receiver. All you want to do is complain about that. Well, guess what? I have your answer for you. In best ball situations, we have a beautiful prop for you here. So I'm with you on that. I love it. I'm about to go full homer mode here. I switched it up. All right. I was going to give a Calvin Ridley prop. I will say I try to jump on that over 5.5 touchdowns plus 100 before the training camp stuff gets out of control. Love that number. That's where I was going to go. We're going with Mr. Daniel Jones. All right, everyone?
Oh, boy. What is it?
All right, it's time. Everyone buckle up. Daniel Jones over 16.5 receiving touchdowns. I see it at 17.5 everywhere but FanDuel. My brother in Christ, everyone, listen up. Last year, he took this team to the playoffs with Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins, and Darius fucking Slayton. Okay, I love Darius. He's been fantastic for us for years. He gets upgrades, right? We've got himself some Darren Waller, who's apparently already crushing camp. I'm so excited. Paris Campbell, debatable. We'll see what he's able to do. But they made even in Jalen Hyatt, they clearly want to have an upgrade in production in the passing game, right? Yes. We see that. They're going to get Wandell back. Who else we got? Sterling Shepard. There's a lot of options there. The big argument is he's never thrown 20 times. He actually has. He threw 24 his rookie year. And that was in 13 games, I believe. And he finally has some consistently at head coach. Everyone loves Dable. This is the second highest. Last season was second highest touchdowns he's thrown. I think he played 15 games, if I'm not mistaken. Or it was 16, I think, last year. But I think to expect him not to throw at least 17 with some upgraded weapons, they're going to throw the ball more. He's proven that he can lower that, the turnovers like everyone also wants to bring up. He's done that. He's continued to cut that down every single year. I'm in on him to go over this 16.5. I think it's the only way that if they want to continue to get better and show that they're a team that can be competitive, they have to throw the ball. And they've got Waller now, and him alone, I think, can push him over that.
Yes, Daniel Jones is an interesting case to a case study, right?
Yeah, he is.
This year, we'll look at how the contract for a guy who wasn't really given that much confidence by the organization throughout the years. Actually, we won't say the organization. We'll say the fan base, the media. Now he gets this contract. He gets another year with a great offensive mind in Brian Daboll, and now he has weapons. And we'll see how it elevates his game. I actually am really high on him this year. And that might be because I'm an Alabama guy, and Brian Daboll, I saw what he can do when he gets time to marinate the meat. He's a great chef. Yeah. He knows what to do. Knows what he 16.5, getting Darren Waller. I think I could buy in on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to track him throughout the year because even the best part about, you guys got Saquon to agree to the year contract. The best part about Saquon too is he's dynamic in the pass game, especially when it comes to scoring touchdowns. Anytime you have a guy like Daniel Jones who has a Saquon, or a Justin Herbert who has an Austin Eckler, they get a couple of extra touchdowns per year from throwing it to their running back in the flats.
Yeah. And I think, Waller alone should just increase the rate that we see them throwing the ball inside the 20-yard line, because that's not something you saw last year. And Daniel Jones is actually very, very good in those situations. He just doesn't always get the opportunity. I think that, Waller can definitely change that. You have some other weapons. We don't really know what Wandell Robinson is. We don't know when he's exactly going to be back. He's always had very good chemistry with Slayton. You get Shep back. I like this number because I think everyone is so quick to probably jump to the under because you look at the 2 years prior to that, even those years, he only played 11 and 14 games. That's where the 11 and 10 touchdowns come from. But then he also had Joe Judge. So this is a very different situation. I like it. I'm going to be a little bit of a homer. That's all right. And then I will ask you for your favorite award prop. I do not have one that I love. So I'm actually going to let you convince me to take whatever you are liking.
Yeah, so I will say this. This is my second favorite. My favorite line got abused already. That was Aiden Hutchinson, Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
But I'm going to go to the Coach of the Year market.
All right.
I'm going to go with Robert Saleh, Coach of the Year, 16-1. Listen, I have high hopes for this Jets team. This is a Jets team who battled, scraped, and fought with a cast of characters on the offensive end that was absolutely atrocious. And I mean the quarterback play. Yeah, sure, Mike White had a couple of good games. But defensively, we think about this team. They were second PFF defensive grade, only behind the Eagles. Robert Saleh now adds Will McDonald to that defensive line coming off the edge. So they already had a great defensive line. They re-signed Quinnen Williams. They just keep getting stronger and stronger. When you see very good defensive teams, let's think of a San Francisco. You think of how much pressure they got on the quarterback. That's what the Jets are going to do. even better. They have a Sauce Gardner. Their secondary is great. Now they bring in Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers doesn't even need to be great for them to be good. He just needs to be good. Why? Because he's passing the ball to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson had 1,050 yards last year with horrible quarterback play. We've already seen the comparisons of the relationship between Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson to that of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I think if this team wins the division, getting the help of the New York market, it is an absolute done deal. We saw what happened with Dabble. We'll see it with Saleh, where that New York market and the voting and the media coverage always gives you a little bit extra. It is my second favorite one. I cannot believe this line is 16-1. I don't normally play this market, but if I'm already high on a team, I got to be high on their coach to win Coach of the Year, especially when it's a bounce back or doing something that they haven't done in a while. Win the division.
Yeah. And what do they get from the New York market? They get to boot the Giants out for 7 games on the road. So they'll be home a lot. Their schedule is looking pretty good. I don't hate it. I don't usually play this market either. I didn't realize that they had, a little bit of a soft schedule. They have some nice gifts in here with the Raiders and the Falcons. Not that I think the Falcons are going to be horrible. You got Texans whole 9 yards here. They play the Pats twice. We'll see what they are, but I don't hate it at all. I think that you might be able to convince me on that one.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this time next year when I'm coming back on the show and I'm talking about my my award and I'm like, hey, remember that Robert Saleh ticket we cashed? Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe the Giants, they can keep MetLife and then we can get out of that dumpster. They can have it for good and we don't have to be roommates anymore.
Yes.
But you'll be on before next year. I would love to have you back on. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find you and then I will get you out of here. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can find me on Twitter at Mr. Brad Thomas. Right now we have golf, soccer qualifications, and your boy has been diving into MLB. It's been absolutely smoking.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute blast.
You're the best. I cannot wait to have you back on.
Yes.
Talk to you later. See ya. That was Brad Thomas, at Mr. Brad Thomas on Twitter. If you are not following him, if you are still watching, subscribe, like. Now we got producer Ryan. What's going on? First show. We just made it thorough. What's popping?
Hey, how are you? I tried to get some stuff hanging in the background this time.
It looks like you made it worse.
I made it worse. You can see the holes in the wall. I was trying to hang a shelf and it did not work.
Okay.
I'm not a big DIY guy when it comes to anything but like video production. So
we might need to get a little Task Rabbit or something going on over there.
You know what?
That's yeah.
I'm not too proud for a little Task Rabbit. I guarantee it.
I'm the first one to get frustrated and just be like, I will have someone else do
that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have some questions for you.
Right,
we did have a question that you and Spencer didn't get to. I was curious about smash or pass on Peter. And I don't know how to say his last name.
I mess it up every time. This is one that I always let Spencer. I say Peter K. He was 8th in my model. I'm not going to lie. I don't have exposure to him yet, but I would like, I'm in on him. So I will smash on him for sure. My model loved him. Seems to be a lot of names of guys that I'm not normally high on did rate out really well for me. So I could he's sitting right below CT Pan. I like both of them. So finding exposure on them, not sure what the market looks like. I actually haven't even looked at jack shit for him yet because I kind of knew I wasn't going to get to that point with him. But I do, every time I say I'm not going to do it, these are the guys that end up doing really well. So geez, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm getting to top 10 with him, but plus 450 on a top 20. Top 30 actually too in some books. So you get the same number there. So yeah, I like that top 30 for sure.
Great. Another golf question. This came from the last stream we did. Steph, what is your lowest 18-round score? And that one is from Chris Ahern.
You know how you should never, or whatever they say, you should never ask a woman her weight. Or you should never ask a woman her.
Would you rather tell us your weight than your lowest round?
Yeah, 100%. No, I will say that I don't actually No, probably right over 100. I play 9 a lot, especially at league. Last night, I continued to hit onto the green in like 1 or 2, and then I was 3-5 putting all night. Finished with like a 51, so it wasn't pretty. But I'm playing 18 this weekend. I will get back to everyone on Sunday. I'll let you know
how long have you been playing?
Since last year. It's like not pretty.
So
yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, that's great that you're even. And
There's
have you taken lessons?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I'm just like
I took a
teaching
couple of
myself.
lessons, and again, I said I'm not a big DIY guy, and really straightened out my swing. So that's
just wanted an adult hobby that got me out of the house, I suppose. That's not football and drinking, but then you just end up drinking on the course, so it doesn't like it kind of completely eliminates the
drinking and eating hot dogs.
Which absolutely.
Was very spicy chat.
Yeah.
Who do you have to win the AFC South?
That is a good question. I feel like it's
from
more...
Rise and Fire Bets.
I want to. Okay, so Hart says Jags. If you want to get a little bit of money in on something, I think that the Titans are getting a little overlooked this year. Vrabel is probably one of my favorite coaches in the entire league, so I imagine that I find myself sprinkling on the Titans. But as long as the Jags stay on the trajectory that they're on, a little bit worried about that O-line there, but I know we're not supposed to look at training camp shit, but Calvin Ridley is just like, I think we all forgot how fucking good he is too. So I think that that's going to make a difference. I like everything that they've done and continue to do. So I think that defense is going to be really strong too.
Yeah. They were talking on Sports Gambling Podcast about how the Titans are being overlooked as well, and how they're even sprinkling a little bit on Ryan Tannehill MVP, which are real long odds. I know it's pretty crazy, but
yeah, no, I mean, I am probably not going to get there with Ryan Tannehill MVP odds, but I get it. I love the way that they are able to they look for the true value type stuff and what's realistic. And is there a possibility? We've probably seen crazier things in the NFL. It's not that Ryan Tannehill is a bad quarterback by any means, and maybe he's put into a better situation this year. We'll see what Hopkins does.
And they have DeAndre Hopkins now. Yeah,
I like Chig a lot. I'm just like Shaw. I love myself some Chig. He will be probably a lot of my first touchdown bets next year. I'm back in on Ryan Tannehill. If you're someone that ends up punting quarterback in those later rounds, grabbing him, because he could very well end up having a solid fantasy year. I'm not going to say very good, but I'm not out on Ryan Tannehill like I was. I'm kind of back in on him.
Yeah. Are you in or out on announcers saying getting chiggy with it?
I'm out on that. That is
out?
Very
really? Wow.
Yeah. Is that something you would say? It sounds like something.
Yeah, I mean that's my era. So getting jiggy with it for sure.
I wonder if you every time you come on, even though it's only been twice because the show is brand new, you tend to show your age a little bit there. Not that I don't know what that's from. But,
come on, getting jiggy with it.
I know.
Is it that old?
I'm just it's not that old. I'm fucking with you. No, there's a lot of things that announcers say that they don't need to say. I don't know why we're still saying penetration as much as we just need to chill out sometimes. So I think that we could probably add that to the list. I love when they try to, spice things up when they shouldn't.
Yeah. We're going to have to get some audio drops, Sports Gambling Podcast app that I could throw in with.
They've got some good ones.
Yeah. With some of these awkward things. All right. Well, that is all our questions. Just wanted to. We have more questions.
We do.
Or did you say wait? Oh
no!
I
said
wait.
Sweet. No.
Sweet. Got it.
Yeah.
I misheard you. I just wanted to remind viewers that we do have a podcast too. You can find the audio version of these live streams on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts. We'll be on more platforms soon. We'll be back on Friday, same time, same channel.
All football on Friday.
It'll be all, Fridays will be football Fridays. It'll be all football. Golf will be Sundays and half of Wednesdays, and then up in football season, it'll be all football.
And then
anything else before we get going?
Here, we'll be done with golf. I'll stop dragging it out. No, that's it. I want to thank everyone for making the launch party a bigger success than I expected. So keep subscribing.
So much
keep
fun.
hitting like, jump in the chat. And that's it. We'll see you guys next time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
See ya.